Hi everyone. So today we are going to do a journey with the most beautiful topic, that is Faraday's law. That is Faraday's law. Okay. So let's start this topic. Okay. So now here here Faraday has got one doubt here. Faraday has got one doubt. So what is his doubt means? Whenever you are having a current carrying wire, okay, carrying current I, then it is going to produce what? It is going to produce some B field. So whenever you are having a current I, it is going to produce some B field. So now whether this B field in turn can produce the current or not. So this is the doubt our Faraday has got. Okay, so now whenever they got some doubts here, what they are going to do? They are going to conduct some experiments. So Faraday has also conducted some experiment. So what is that experiment here is? So he has taken a conducting loop. And at the ends of this conducting loop, he has connected a galvanometer. So this is nothing but galvanometer here. He has connected a galvanometer. So what is the purpose of galvanometer here? We can use the galvanometer either as what? Either as voltmeter, or we can use it as ammeter. Okay, you can utilize the galvanometer either as voltmeter, or we can use it as ammeter. That is the purpose of galvanometer here. Okay, so sorry. So this is he has taken a conducting loop, and to the ends of the conducting loop he has connected some galvanometer. So now he has taken the magnet here. So it is having north pole and south pole. So he has placed this magnet near the loop. Conducting loop. So whenever he has placed the magnet near the conducting loop, what will happen here? So this magnet is going to produce some magnetic field. Yes or no? So it is going to produce some magnetic field. So this magnetic field lines are going to penetrate through this loop. These magnetic field lines are going to penetrate through this loop in this manner. Yes or no here? Okay. So they are going to penetrate through this loop in this manner. So the number of magnetic field lines that are penetrating through this loop, we call it as what here? We call it as magnetic flux. Yes or no? The number of magnetic field lines that are penetrating through this loop is called as what? Is called as magnetic flux. Understood? So what he want to know here? What he want to know is whether this magnetic field can induce some current in the conducting loop or not. So if at all, if it induces some current in the conducting loop, then you are going to see some deflection in the galvanometer. So this is what he want to know, whether this B field can produce the induced current or not. That's what he want to know. Okay, so for that, what he has done is he kept the magnet here and he has waited for 1 hour. Still there is no deflection in the galvanometer, and waited for 2 hours. Still there is no deflection in the galvanometer. Waited for 3 hours. Still there is no deflection in the galvanometer. So with a huge disappointment, what he has done is he has taken the magnet away from the loop. So whenever he has taken the magnet away from the loop, suddenly he has seen some deflection in the galvanometer. Okay, so then he started playing. He has taken the magnet nearer to the loop. So whenever he is taking the magnet nearer to the loop, in that case also he has seen some deflection in the galvanometer. Then what he has done is he kept the magnet here and he started moving the loop up and down. So in that case also he has seen some deflection in the galvanometer. Whenever this loop and magnet both are stationary, then in that case he has not seen any deflection in the galvanometer. Okay, so from this what he has observed is whenever there is a relative motion between the loop and magnet, only in that case we are seeing the deflection in the galvanometer. Whenever there is no relative motion between the loop and magnet, in that case there is no deflection in the galvanometer. Okay, so these are the observations he has made. So what is happening whenever there is a relative motion between the loop and magnet? What is happening here whenever there is a relative motion between the loop and magnet? What is happening? So if you take the magnet, whenever you are taking the magnet away from the loop, what is happening? The number of field lengths that are penetrating through this loop are gradually decreasing or not? Yes or no? So that means the magnetic flux is decreasing. Okay, so whenever magnetic flux is decreasing, there is a deflection. Now whenever he has taken the magnet nearer to the loop, whenever he is taking the magnet nearer to the loop, in that case what is happening here? The magnetic flux or the number of field lines that are penetrating through this loop is increasing gradually. Understood? And in that case what is happening? Magnetic flux is increasing. So whenever magnetic flux is increasing, he has observed the deflection. Whenever he kept the magnet and loop both are stationary, then there is no change in magnetic flux. Magnetic flux is neither increasing nor decreasing. In that case, he has seen no deflection in the galvanometer. Understood? So from this he concluded that whenever there is a change in magnetic flux that is linking with this loop, only in that case we are having the deflection in the galvanometer. So whenever there is a change in magnetic flux, galvanometer is showing some deflection. That means what here? Whenever there is a change in magnetic flux, there induces a current in the conducting loop, and hence we are seeing the deflection in the galvanometer. Understood? But what is causing this induced current? See, whenever the current is flowing within the conducting loop here, what do you mean by that? The charge carriers are moving or flowing within the conducting loop. So there must be some driving force. That is driving these charge carriers within the conducting loop. So what is that driving force? That driving force is nothing but what? Is nothing but EMF. That driving force is nothing but EMF. So that means whenever there is a change in magnetic flux, there induces an EMF in the loop. There induces an EMF around the loop, and this EMF is driving the current, this EMF is driving the charge carriers within the conducting material. That means this EMF is producing the induced current. Okay, and thus we are seeing the deflection in the galvanometer. Understood? So finally, what is the conclusion we can make is, whenever there is a change in magnetic flux that is linking with this loop, then there induces an EMF, around this closed loop, and this EMF causes the induced current to flow within the conducting loop. Understood? Okay, so this is what Faraday has done. Okay, so finally, whenever there is a change in magnetic flux, it can produce the induced currents. Understood? So that's how he has succeeded in his experiment. Okay, so now we try to give some mathematical form. To this Faraday's law. Okay, so let us consider phi b. Phi b represents, let us say this represents what here? Phi b represents magnetic flux. Magnetic flux. So whenever this flux changes with respect to time, so that means I can represent that dou phi b by what? Dou phi b by dou t. So this represents the change in magnetic flux. So whenever there is a change in magnetic flux, there induces an EMF. Around the closed loop. Okay, and here we are going to put a minus sign here. So why we are putting this minus sign here? This minus sign is because of what? This minus sign is because of Lenz's law. It is because of Lenz's law. So we will see what is this Lenz's law later. Understood? Okay, so this is the mathematical form of Faraday's law here. So whenever there is a change in magnetic flux, it is going to induce an EMF around the closed loop. Understood? Okay, and we have to put here minus. This minus sign is because of what? Is because of Lenz's law, and we will see what do you mean by Lenz's law and all later. Understood? Okay, yeah. So now I am going to write this EMF, I am going to write this voltage or EMF in terms of electric field here, in terms of electric field. So how I can write this here? So this is the voltage or EMF that is induced around the closed loop. So that I can write in terms of electric field. How I can write here? I can write this as closed loop integral E bar dot dl bar. So this represents the circulation of electric field around the closed loop. Yes or no? This represents the circulation of electric field around the closed loop. See, what are the units of electric field here? Volt per meter. What are the units of dl here? Is nothing but meter. So here meter will get cancelled. So it represents what? It represents the voltage around what? Around the closed loop. So we can represent this EMF in terms of what? In terms of electric field in this manner. Understood? Now similarly, what is this phi b here? What is this phi b? Phi b is equal to what? Phi b is equal to is nothing but magnetic flux. So how we can represent magnetic flux here? Suppose if I consider a small differential area here, if I consider a small differential area dA bar, then the magnetic field lines, the number of magnetic field lines that are penetrating through this loop, will give you the magnetic flux through this small differential area. So we can represent that in terms of what? B bar dot what? B bar dot dA bar. So B bar dot dA bar will give you the magnetic flux through this small differential area. Now if I want the magnetic flux throughout this total area, then what I have to do? I have to integrate throughout this surface. So surface means you must get what? You are going to get, you are having two variables, and hence you have to integrate with respect to those two variables. Understood? So this is going to give you what? This is going to give you the magnetic flux. Understood? So now substitute here phi b is equal to double integral b bar dot dA bar in this expression. So then what you are going to get? I can write this as minus dou by dou t into phi b. I am writing as double integral b bar dot what? B bar dot dA bar. Understood? Now here we are doing the differentiation with respect to time and integration with respect to space. Yes or no? So spatial operation and time operation both are independent to one another. So that means you can perform integration first and then you can perform differentiation next, or you can perform first differentiation and then you can perform integration. Okay, it doesn't matter, because the operations, the integration operation is with respect to space and the differentiation operation is with respect to time. Both are independent to one another. Okay, so in that case, how I can write here? The circulation of electric field around any closed loop, I can write it as minus of double integral. I am taking this dou by dou t inside the integration, so I can write it as what? Dou b by dou t dot what? Dot dA bar. So you can perform the differentiation first, and after that you can perform the integration. Understood? So it doesn't matter, because both operations are independent to one another. Okay, so this is the mathematical form or integral form of Faraday's law. This we call it as what here? Integral form of Faraday's law. Understood? Okay, yeah. So now we try to represent its differential form. Or point form. Here. So for that, what we have to do here? So apply Stokes theorem on the LHS side. So if you apply Stokes theorem here, so by applying Stokes theorem, you can convert the closed loop integral into what? Integral into surface integral. So by applying Stokes theorem to the LHS, okay, so I can write this closed loop integral E bar dot dl, I can write it as double integral del cross E bar dot dA bar is equal to what? Is equal to minus of double integral dou b by dou t dot what? Dot dA bar. So the surface integration on LHS side and the surface integration on RHS side both represents the same surface, and hence this surface integrations will get cancelled on both sides. Then you can write it as what? Then you can write it as del cross E bar is equal to what? Is equal to minus dou b bar by dou t. So this is the point form or differential form of Faraday's law. Okay, so this is called as what here? This is called as point form. or differential form, point form or differential form of Faraday's law. And this is called as what? This is called as integral form. This is called as what here? Integral form of integral form of Faraday's law. So just we have given the mathematical form to the Faraday's law. So this is the basic equation of Faraday's law. So from here we try to represent in terms of what? In terms of integral form and differential form. Okay, so we call this as integral form of Faraday's law, and we call this as point form or differential form of Faraday's law. Understood? So this is the mathematical representation of Faraday's law. Okay, okay, yeah, fine. So now come to this expression here, come to this expression. Okay, so now here okay, so now here I said this minus sign is because of Lenz's law. This minus sign is because of Lenz's law. So we will see what is this Lenz's law. What is this Lenz's law? So next we will see what is this Lenz's law. Okay, so next is Lenz's law here. Lenz's law. Okay, so what Lenz's law will tell you here? What Lenz's law will tell you? So you are going to have some cause and effect. So the effect will always opposes the cause. Yes or no? So that is nothing but Lenz's law. So here you are going to have some cause and effect. Cause and effect. So this effect always opposes. This effect always opposes what here? This effect always opposes the cause. Understood? So here what is cause here? What is cause? Cause is nothing but what? Change in magnetic flux or not? Yes or no? So here the cause is nothing but change in magnetic flux. Change in magnetic flux. Here M stands for magnetic. Okay, so change in magnetic flux. So whenever there is a change in magnetic flux, what is its effect here? What is its effect? There induces an EMF. Yes or no? There induces an EMF around the closed loop. So whenever there is an EMF, it is going to produce what? It is going to produce the induced current. It is going to produce the induced current, I induced. So whenever you are having an induced current here, we know that whenever there is a current, there must be what? It is going to produce some B field. It is going to produce some B field. Yes or no? So this induced current in turn is going to produce what? Is going to produce induced magnetic field. The induced magnetic field. So now this induced magnetic field is going to oppose this change in magnetic flux. Yes or no? This induced magnetic field has to oppose this change in magnetic flux. Now here change in magnetic flux. This induced magnetic field has to oppose this change in magnetic flux. Okay, so here change in magnetic flux. What do you mean by change here? What do you mean by change? This change may be increase in magnetic flux, or it can be what? Or it can be decrease in magnetic flux. So that means whenever the magnetic flux tries to increase, this induced magnetic field will try to oppose this increase in magnetic flux. And similarly, whenever this magnetic flux tries to decrease, this induced magnetic field will try to oppose that decrease. It always opposes the change in magnetic flux. Whenever it is increasing, it will try to oppose that increase, and whenever it is decreasing, it will try to oppose that decrease. Understood? So what is the application of Lenz's law? What is the application of Lenz's law means? With the help of Lenz's law, we can determine the direction of the current, the direction of the induced current that is flowing in the loop, Understood? Okay. See, we know that whenever there is a change in magnetic flux, current is going to flow within the loop. Understood? We know that. Okay. But we don't know the exact direction of the current. So in order to determine that direction, in which direction it is flowing, okay, in order to determine that, we can take the help of what? We can take the help of Lenz's law. Understood? Now, if I am having a loop here, if I am having a loop like this, Okay, so now here let us say the magnet, here you are having some magnet here. So let us say this magnet is moving nearer to the loop. Let us say this magnet is moving nearer to the loop. So whenever the magnet is moving nearer to the loop, what happens to the number of field lines that are penetrating through this loop here? The number of field lines that are penetrating through this loop is going to increase or not? Yes or no? So the number of field lines that are penetrating through this loop is going to increase. That means the magnetic flux is trying to increase. The magnetic flux is trying to increase. So whenever the magnetic flux is increasing here, whenever the magnetic flux is increasing, the induced magnetic field will try to oppose that increase. Will try to oppose that increase. So that means with respect to time, the number of field lines that are penetrating through this loop are gradually increasing. So the induced magnetic field will try to oppose this increase in number of field lines with respect to time. That means in which direction the induced magnetic field must be present here? It must point in downward direction or it must point in upward direction. In which direction the induced magnetic field must point? It has to oppose the increase in magnetic flux. Tell me here, in which direction it has to point? Downward or upward? If it is pointing in upward, then it is aiding the magnetic flux. Yes or no? Okay, it has to oppose the magnetic flux. That means it has to point in downward direction. Yes or no? So here in this case, the induced magnetic field must point in downward direction. So if the induced magnetic field is in downward direction, that means what here? The current must flow in which direction? The current must flow in clockwise direction. Yes or no? If the current flows in clockwise direction, then only it is going to produce what? Induced magnetic field in downward direction. Yes or no? So here the current must flow in clockwise direction. So we have identified or determined the direction of the flow of current or not by using Lenz's law. Understood? Now similarly, if you take another loop here, let us consider another loop. Now here let us assume in this case the magnet is moving away from the loop here. The magnet is moving away from the loop. So in this case what happens here? The number of field lines that are penetrating through this loop, the number of field lines that are penetrating through this loop is going to what? Is going to decrease with respect to time or not? Okay, so as the magnet moves away from the loop, the number of field lines that are penetrating through this loop are gradually decreasing. Okay, that means the magnetic flux is decreasing. So whenever the magnetic flux is decreasing, this induced magnetic field will try to oppose that decrease. So with respect to time, the number of field lines that are penetrating through this loop are gradually decreasing. So this induced magnetic field will try to oppose that decrease, So that means it has to point in which direction here? It has to point in upward direction. Yes or no? So now in this case the induced magnetic field has to point in upward direction. So if the induced magnetic field is pointing in upward direction, means what must be the direction of induced current here? It must flow in anti-clockwise direction. Yes or no? Okay, so here the direction of the induced current will be in anti-clockwise direction. Understood? So this is how we can determine the direction of the current. By using what? By using Lenz's law. Understood? Okay. So they may ask some conceptual question based on this Lenz's law. So they may give some loop and they may say the flux is increasing with respect to time, then what is the direction of induced current? And if the flux is decreasing with respect to time, then what is the direction of induced current? So this is how they can frame a question. Understood? So already they have asked a question based on this concept in IES here, okay, the same question they have asked. Okay, so now we'll come to this again, we'll come again to this basic equation here, that is V EMF is equal to minus dou by dou t, minus dou phi b by dou t. Understood? So I said this phi b you can write it as double integral b bar dot dA bar. Phi b is equal to double integral b bar dot dA bar. So dA bar means you are going to have what? You are going to have two integration variables. Yes or no? You are going to have two integration variables. So it may be dx, dy, dz, dx like that. Understood? You may have two integration variables. Now if suppose this B field is independent, or or I can say constant with respect to what? With respect to integration variables. Okay, so if this B field, if we assume this B field is independent or constant with respect to this integration variables, then you can take it out of the integration or not. Yes or no? If it is independent of integration variables, you can take it out of the integration. So in that case, I can write it as phi b is equal to b bar dot double integral dA bar. So this double integral dA bar will represents what? Will represents the total surface area. So I can write this as phi b is equal to b bar dot what? B bar dot a bar, which is equal to what? Which is equal to BA into cos theta, where theta is the angle between B bar and A bar. So this is how I can represent the magnetic flux if B bar is independent of what? Is independent of this integration variables. Understood? Okay. Now let us assume, for simplicity, let us assume B bar is independent of this integration variables. In that case, I can write phi b as simply BA into cos theta. Okay. Now consider phi b is equal to BA cos theta. So now VEMF is equal to what here? Minus dou by dou t. So phi b is nothing but what? BA cos theta. So whenever there is a change in magnetic flux, then only you are going to have what? You are going to have an EMF. So in how many ways we can produce this EMF here? Suppose B field is varying with respect to time here. If B field varies with respect to time, then there will be a change in magnetic flux. Then in that case, you can produce the voltage or EMF. Or if suppose the area of the loop, is changing with respect to time, then also there will be a change in magnetic flux, and hence we can produce the voltage. Now if suppose theta is varying with respect to time, theta is nothing but what? Theta is nothing but angle between B bar and A bar. So if theta varies with respect to time, then also you can have change in magnetic flux. Okay, so that is going to produce an EMF. So by varying the magnetic field, by varying the B field with respect to time, we can produce the voltage. By varying the area of the loop with respect to time, we can produce the voltage. Or by varying the theta, or by varying the angle between B bar and A bar, we can produce the voltage. Okay, so these are the different ways through which we can produce the voltage without help of what? Without help of battery. Yes or no? Without connecting the battery in the circuit, we can produce the voltage by just changing the magnetic flux. Understood? Okay. Okay, so I can write the same expression in this manner here. So VEMF is equal to minus of. Now let us consider only B field is varying with respect to time, whereas A and cos theta are constant. And B is only varying with respect to time. In that case, how I can write here? How I can write this expression? I can write this as A into cos theta. Only B field is varying with respect to time. So this is the one way to produce the voltage. So what is another way here? So let us consider the area of the loop is changing with respect to time, whereas this B field and cos theta are constant. So in that case, how I can write here? I can write it as B into cos theta dou A by what? Dou A by dou t. So this is another way to produce the voltage. Understood? Next is what here? By varying theta with respect to time. If theta changes with respect to time and B and A are constants, so then also we can produce the voltage. Yes or no? So now here B and A are constant, only theta is varying with respect to time. So that means cos theta of t. So now theta has become a function of time. It is varying with respect to time. So whenever theta is a function of time, how we can write theta here? In this case here? See, theta represents what? Theta represents angular displacement. Okay, so angular displacement with respect to time. Angular displacement with respect to time is nothing but what? Is nothing but angular velocity. So therefore theta of t, so here theta is a function of t. So theta of t is equal to what? Is equal to, I can write it as what? I can write it as omega into t. So whenever theta becomes a function of time, I can write it as what? Omega into t. So I am replacing here theta of t. You can replace here theta of t with what? With omega into t. So these are the three ways through which we can produce the voltage. Yes or no? Okay, so without the help of battery, just by changing the magnetic flux in different ways, we can produce the voltage. We can produce the voltage. Understood? Okay, so now if you produce the voltage, okay, so now see here, if B field is varying with respect to time here, if suppose if you produce the voltage by varying only B field, and A and cos theta are constant, only B field is varying with respect to time. So in that case, what happens to this term here? Area is not changing with respect to time, so this term will go to 0, and theta is not changing with respect to time, and hence this term will also go to 0. So you are going to have only this term. Understood? If only area of the loop is changing with respect to time, then only this term will be present, this term will go to 0, this term will also go to 0. And if only theta is varying with respect to time, then this term will go to 0, this term will go to 0, only this term will be present. Understood? So these are the different ways through which we can produce the EMF. Understood? So if you produce the EMF, by varying only B field, and keeping A and cos theta constant, then this action is called as transformer action, or we call this as transformer EMF. We call this as what here? Transformer EMF. So if you produce the EMF by varying only B field with respect to time, keeping A and theta constant, then this action of producing EMF is called as transformer action or transformer EMF. Understood? So why we are calling it as transformer EMF, I will explain here. Okay, now see here, if you take a transformer, it is going to have what? It is going to have a primary winding, and here you are going to have some secondary winding. Now here you are going to have some load here. Let us say here you are having some load. Understood? Okay, so now let us say in the primary winding, the current that is flowing is I of t. The current that is flowing in the primary winding is I of t, that is varying with respect to time. So whenever the current flows through this solenoid, that means through this primary winding here, what will happen here? This current is going to produce what? This current is going to produce the magnetic field. It is going to produce the magnetic field, and we know that the magnetic field will always form what? Will always form the closed loops. Yes or no? So it is going to produce the magnetic field that is going to form what? That is going to form the closed loops in this manner. Okay, so now if you observe, since this current is varying with respect to time, the current that is flowing through this primary winding is varying with respect to time, and hence the B field produced by this current will also going to vary with respect to time. But this B field is not only linking with the primary coil, it is also linking with what? Linking with the secondary coil. So the number of field lines, here you are having the magnetic field lines, yes or no? So these field lines are penetrating through these loops or not? Understood? So whenever the current changes, then the number of field lines that are penetrating through this secondary winding is also going to change. That means there will be a change in magnetic flux, and we know that whenever there is a change in magnetic flux, it is going to induce an EMF around the closed loop. It is going to induce an EMF around the closed loop, and this EMF is going to induce what? This EMF is going to cause the induced current. And hence you are going to see an induced current that is flowing in the secondary winding. Understood? So now here what is varying here? As the current varies, the B field is also varying with respect to time. So if the B field is varying with respect to time, then there will be a change in magnetic flux. Through this secondary winding. So whenever there is a change in magnetic flux, it is going to induce an EMF around this closed loop, which is going to produce what? Which is going to produce the induced current. Understood? Okay, so here we are inducing an EMF in the secondary loop. By varying what? By varying B field with respect to time, and hence this EMF is called as what? Transformer EMF, and this action or this process is called as what? Transformer action. Understood? Okay, yeah. Now there is another way in order to produce the voltage. So what is that here? By varying theta with respect to time. So how you can produce the voltage by varying with respect to Okay, so here we are producing the voltage by varying theta with respect to time. Theta represents what here? The angle between B field and surface area. So now let us consider here. Let us consider here you are having a north pole and here you are having a south pole. So this is the magnet, let us assume. So it is going to produce some magnetic field lines. You are going to have some magnetic field lines in this manner. So now if you place a conducting loop, if you place a conducting loop like this, if you place a conducting loop like this, okay, if you place a conducting loop like this, understood? So if you place a conducting loop and if you try to rotate, the conducting loop in this direction, if you try to rotate the conducting loop in this direction, understood? So what will happen here? What will happen whenever the conducting loop is rotating in the magnetic field? What will happen here? So theta is going to change or not? Yes or no? See, so now let us consider a conducting loop here. Let us consider a conducting loop here. Let us assume here there is a north pole and here there is a south pole. Okay, so the field lines are the field lines will always point from north pole to south pole. So the field lines are pointing in this direction here. The field lines are pointing in this direction. So what is the direction of this surface here? What is the direction of the surface? The direction of the surface is given by what? Is given by the normal drawn to the surface. Normal drawn to the surface. That means the direction of the surface is also pointing in this direction. And the B field is also pointing in this direction. So in this case, the number of field lines that are penetrating through this loop is maximum. Yes or no? And what is theta here? What is theta? B field is pointing in this direction and the direction of this surface is also pointing in the same direction. So in this case, theta is equal to what? Theta is equal to 0 degrees and the number of field lines that are penetrating through this loop is maximum. Understood? Then what happens here? Then what happens? You are going to rotate this conducting loop. You are going to rotate this conducting loop in the B field. So whenever you are rotating this conducting loop in the B field, what happens here? The number of field lines that are penetrating through this loop are going to decrease or not? Are going to decrease gradually. And now what will happen? Now in this case, the B field are pointing in this direction and the direction of the surface is pointing in this direction. In this case, there will be no field, there is no field that is penetrating through the loop. That means the flux through this surface is 0. Understood? Again, if you rotate like this, then again the number of field lines that are penetrating through this loop will gradually increase and becomes maximum, and again decrease and becomes 0, and again increase and becomes maximum, and again decrease and becomes 0. Understood? So that means as you rotate, whenever you rotate this conducting loop in the magnetic field, theta is varying with respect to time. Yes or no? Yes or no here? So what is changing here? What is changing here as the conducting loop is rotating in the magnetic field? What is changing here? The angle between B field and surface area is changing or not? Yes or no? So whenever the conducting loop rotates in a magnetic field, then the angle between the B field and area is going to change. So in that case, theta is going to change and hence there will be a change in magnetic flux and hence you are going to get what? You are going to get EMF. Understood? So we are getting the EMF through the rotation. We are getting here EMF through the rotation of the conducting loop in the B field. So we have named it as what here? We have named it as rotational EMF. We have named it as what here? Rotational EMF. Okay, now here, so this is the transformer EMF and this is the rotational EMF, and there is no specific name for this one here. There is no specific name for this one. So here we can produce the voltage by changing the area of the loop with respect to time. By changing the area of the loop with respect to time. How we can change the area of the loop with respect to time? So now I will give an example for this situation here. For this situation. So here let us consider. Now here let us consider a bulb here. Let us consider here a bulb. This is nothing but bulb here. This is nothing but bulb. Now here let us assume the magnetic field is pointing into the board. Let us assume the magnetic field is pointing into the board. Okay, so let us assume this magnetic field is pointing into the board and it is a steady magnetic field here. This magnetic field is not changing with respect to time. Okay, so this is nothing but B field that is pointing into the board. Now I am considering a conducting bar. Now I am considering a conducting bar like this. So whenever I place a conducting bar here, it is going to form this loop. It is going to form this loop. Yes or no? So now let us assume a kid is playing with this bar here. A kid is playing with this bar. What he is doing is he is dragging this conducting bar towards right. He is dragging this conducting bar towards right. So whenever he is dragging this conducting bar towards right, then he observed that the bulb is glowing. Understood? Why the bulb is glowing here? Whenever he is dragging the bar towards right here. What is happening whenever he is drawing the bar towards right? What is happening means, as this bar moves towards right, then the area of the loop is going to increase or not? Yes or no? As the area of the loop gradually increases, then what will happen here? Then what will happen? The number of field lengths that are penetrating through that loop is also increasing or not? Let us assume this is at t is equal to 0 instant. After some time, this bar has moved to this location. That means at t1 time. At t1 time, let us assume. Okay. So at t is equal to 0, this is the loop. Understood? And this is the flux enclosed by that loop. Now, as the bar moves towards right, at t1 it is located at this location. So as it moves from this location to this location, what is happening here? This area of the loop is changing or not? This area of the loop is gradually increasing. As the area of the loop is increasing, then the number of field lengths that are penetrating through this loop is also increasing or not? Yes or no? And hence what will happen here? There is a change in magnetic flux. There is a change in magnetic flux. Whenever there is a change in magnetic flux, it is going to induce an EMF around this closed loop, which is going to produce what? Which is going to produce the induced current. And hence the bulb will start glowing. Okay, now in the same manner here, if suppose this conducting bar moves towards left here, then what will happen here? The area of the loop will gradually decreases. So in this case, what is happening here? The magnetic flux that is enclosed by the loop will also going to decrease with respect to time. Understood? So as the loop size gradually decreases, what will happen? The number of field lengths that are penetrating through that loop is also gradually decreasing. Yes or no? So that means there is a change in magnetic flux. So in that case also there induces an EMF in this loop, and there will be a induced current, and hence the bulb will glow. Okay, so if you move this conducting bar either towards right or towards left, okay, the bulb is going to glow. So if you kept this conducting bar stationary, then this bulb is not going to glow, because there will be no change in magnetic flux. So here how you are producing the change in how you are changing the magnetic flux here? By changing the area of the loop or not? By changing the area of the loop with respect to time, you are changing the magnetic flux, and thus we are producing the voltage. So this is another way of producing the voltage. Understood? We can take combinations of this also here. We can take the combinations of this also. So that means if B field is varying with respect to time, as well as area of the loop is also varying with respect to time, then these two terms you have to represent, and this term will go to 0. Okay, so if area of the loop is changing with respect to time, and if theta is also changing with respect to time, and B field is constant, then in that case this term will go to 0. Only these two terms will be present. Understood? So in that manner we can determine the EMF produced by this change in magnetic flux. Understood? Okay, so so whatever the problems they have given in GATE, they are based only on this equation here. They are based only upon this equation. So in one case they have given that the B field that is penetrating through a loop is varying with respect to time. Then what is the EMF induced around that loop? Understood? So you can use this one. If suppose area of the loop is changing with respect to time, then you have to use this term. If theta is varying with respect to time, then you have to use this term. Understood? So here theta of t is nothing but what? Omega t. So whenever theta varies with respect to time, you have to represent theta in terms of what? In terms of omega into t. Understood? Okay. So with this we have completed the Faraday's law. So in the next lecture we will solve some problems based on this Faraday's law. Okay, so until then, bye bye, take care.